first off, we got yet again another season evaluation to start off this one. You guys liked the last one we did with San Jose, so we're going to do it again here with the Chicago Blackhawks, who were also eliminated from the playoffs last week on Thursday. And it's not a surprise, to be honest with you. We kind of expected it, but LeBlanc, as we said with San Jose, describe Chicago's season in one word.
Messy. I think we expected Chicago to take somewhat of a step forward, like this, like not a ginormous step, but like maybe like a small step towards maybe contending for that wild card spot. But instead, we got, I think it's almost as bad as last year, and they improved the roster significantly.
It feels like, I mean, I think we said this with San Jose. We said the on-ice product improved with the Sharks. It definitely got a lot better than what it was in the year where they were really bad. It didn't really seem like that with Chicago. It seemed like it didn't get worse. It just felt like it kind of stayed the same, and we didn't really see any steps to improvement as it goes for the Blackhawks. And then on top of that, you have the whole thing with Bedard and, the whole criticism around him. Oh, he's not elite and all this stuff. And we're not here to get into just specifically Bedard. I'm sure we will at some point, but overall, this was a really big struggle of the year from Chicago. They did make some solid trades at the trade deadline, trading Seth Jones away, which we didn't really think they were going to be able to do, and they got that done. They obviously got Spencer Knight back in return. But overall, as LeBlanc said, it really was a messy season from Chicago. And again, I think we even said it in our last episode, this is like a very pivotal draft coming up for this team.
Yes, Chicago's got to nail. I'm going to be blunt. They have to nail this pick. Here's the thing. Last year, they had this is not discrediting Artem Levchinov. I think Artem Levchinov is a great prospect. He's going to be a great defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks. But last year, I think the main thing was you need to get Bedard a linemate to help. And I think they had the opportunity to take a shot at Ivan Demidov.
Yeah, they did.
And they held back. They kind of took Levchinov, but now looking at this draft, they're the same as they were last year. They're still bad. And think about it. If you took Demidov last year, and then this year, if you got first overall, you can take Schaefer.
Yeah, puts you in a really good spot.
A guy like Ratty Murka or Jackson Smith. I think Jackson Smith and Murka are on the same par as Levchinov. But my point is that last year they had a guy there for the future, Bedard and Demidov. That would have been sick. But now they have to nail us. And I really do think, in my eyes, you need to take a guy like either a Michael Misa, Anton Frondel, or a Porter Martone.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to lean forward with this pick heading into the draft. Again, as you said, you had the opportunity of getting Ivan Demidov. You had the opportunity of getting literally any other forward that wasn't named Macklin Celebrini. I'm not saying that going down the road of getting Levchinov is a bad idea. I'm not saying it's bad, but you definitely could have made out better, I think, if you got Demidov instead of Levchinov for sure.
Yeah.
It would have changed a lot of narratives with Chicago for sure.
Yeah, Chicago went for the safe pick, and Levchinov is a very safe pick. He's going to be a good, I would say number two. I say number 2 or number 1 defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah.
But this summer, I look at Chicago this summer. You need to improve the roster again. I don't want to say it again, because last year they had nobody. They were bad. It was Bedard and guys. This year you had guys. You had guys like Bertuzzi, Teravainen. You brought in guys like Patrick. I don't know if he's not an impact player, but we got good vets like Patrick Maroon in. Who else did they bring in? I'm trying to think of forwards they brought in.
They brought in Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Maroon. On the back end, they brought in Martinez, Laurent Brossoit. He never played. They brought in guys, and to be honest with you, on paper, the roster was better than last year, to be honest. But the team didn't get a lot better, and that's the problem.
No, and I do want to say, bringing in those vets like Martinez and like Maroon was a good idea, and I think that's good for the room, the locker room. But looking at Bertuzzi, and this is gonna sound maybe not great. Bertuzzi is not number one winger. Bertuzzi's not a number two. I argue he's not even number two winger.
No, he's not. I agree with that. I mean, again, like you acquired players who more or less are meant to be on this team for they're like meant to be on this team just to fill spots. So one thing that I want to say with the Blackhawks is I want to compare what this year has been to last year's standing. So last year, the Blackhawks were second last, as they are this year. They finished with a record of 23, 53, and 6 for 52 points. They had a .317 points percentage, 179 goals for, 290 goals against, minus 111 difference. This year so far, 21, 41, and 9 for 51 points, 193 goals for, 254 goals against, for a minus 61 difference. So, to be honest with you, the numbers are a little bit better. In terms of the goal differential, they're a little bit better. They're going to have a few more points than last year, unless if they go on a massive 10-game winning streak to end the year. They're likely going to end up with around the same amount of wins, if not a little less, if not a little more. Overall, again, like it's a season where you didn't see much growth from anybody in terms of the standings. And again, that's what we said. Like we weren't expecting that whatsoever. And what we were expecting was the on-ice product to improve, and we just didn't see that. So just looking forward with Chicago, again, we said that the forward position was the biggest thing. What are some other things that you think Chicago needs to nail out in the offseason or figure out here moving forward?
Well, I think I want to look at Laurent Brossoit. I know he signed him to play to be that starting goalie potentially. He didn't play. I know they recently, excuse me. They've recently gotten Spencer Knight, which is great for the future, but I still feel like they need to iron out a backup. Arvid Soderblom, he's inconsistent. He has some good games and he has some bad games, but I think you need to get a solid backup. I do feel like it's still the forward core is still not good enough. This is still a forward core that needs to be addressed. And I don't want to say like you need everything, but you kind of need everything. I know they're doing a youth movement, and they have guys on the roster playing. Like you got Colton Dock, Wyatt Kaiser, Alex Vlasic on the back end with Bedard and Reichel. Like you need more vets.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think you need guys who like you can kind of keep there and then trade at the deadline. The Blackhawks signed players. Really kind of didn't do that. Like they signed all their guys to longer term contracts. Like Bertuzzi's on a longer term deal. Teravainen's on a longer term deal. You should go out and get some guys who can be just rentals alongside Connor Bedard, and maybe they just move those guys for picks later on because you see a lot of other teams do that. We didn't see Chicago do that this year, and I definitely think that was a little bit of concern in terms of the fact that they didn't get that much assets back in return in a trade deadline where another team who was selling, like even San Jose this year, who sold and traded away some guys, still got a decent return back. So, I think that all of this, like, we can talk about it all right now, but it's all not going to change until the offseason. Like, we can go on and on about all this, but we're not going to really know for sure what the next direction, what next season. Well, we have an idea what next season will be like for the Blackhawks. It's not going to be a good one, but we need to just determine if it's going to be a better season overall or kind of around the same. Like, I think they need to get better or else something bad can happen.
I'm going to say this. I feel like Chicago this summer is going to go big game hunting.
I agree. I think that they should go out and get somebody who is not like a, rental deadline player, as I just said. Again, I think they should go out and get a guy like that, but go out and get somebody who can be a younger impact player. Like, for example, and I'm not saying that they should go out and get this guy specifically, a player in the sense of Elias Pettersson, who is young, who can provide you offense alongside Bedard, and will be there for the future, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I was thinking about a guy maybe like Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, he's another example that I think would be good. Maybe like an RFA. Maybe go out and get an offer sheet.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it's a pretty weak free agency market this year. I could see a lot of offer sheets, but we're going to get into that later in the summer. So,
Yeah, we are. I definitely think that is going to be something we're going to follow for sure as the playoffs roll on and the offseason gets
But
through. But
the
yeah,
one thing about the Blackhawks I want to mention as well, they say they like their youth movement like now, but like the reluctancy to play the youth in the lineup was very evident, like early to mid season. Like I look at a guy like
yeah,
Frankie Nazar. Nazar should have been getting those minutes.
exactly. I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like the criticisms with Luke Richardson at the beginning of the season was definitely a big factor in why they struggled out of the gate. I think Sorensen, the team has been better under him. There have been more younger players called up, like Colton Dock played NHL games. Again, Nazar. Almost as soon as Sorensen was called up as the coach, Nazar started playing regular minutes with Chicago. And as well as that, too, Lev Shinov got the call as well. I think a couple other guys also got call-ups, too, throughout the season because, again, Sorensen was the coach with Rockford in the AHL. So overall, it was just I definitely think that the second half of the year in terms of young guys coming in and making an impact was better, but overall, it was a really rough season for Chicago. Anything more to add?
Not really. Do you want to add that we're talking about future moves? They need to hire a coach.
They do. I wonder if they do keep Sorensen because I don't think he's done a terrible job.
I don't think he's done a terrible job, but I still think they're going to explore all options. Like they'll probably interview him for the job, but they're probably going to interview. They're going to do their due diligence.
Yeah, they're going to go out and look for other coaches that could help with that. But I feel like, they could really benefit from a younger coach who could mentor the younger players like through this rebuild because Richardson really isn't meant for that, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, again, I guess like, he wasn't bad in the first season, but you could clearly tell like this team's trying to rebuild. You can't have a guy who's like likes the older players, doesn't like playing the young guys as you're leading up.
But unfortunately, a lot of the older coaches are like that though. They're like they like the vets. They want to keep the guys who like you know what I mean. Like it's the older coach mentality. Like I'm trying to think of like guys who are going to be hot commodities on the coaching market. I'm going to say somebody, and I think you might agree, may disagree, but you could see someone like maybe Jessica Campbell getting a shot in an interview.
Maybe. I mean, again, I think Campbell's done actually a decent job with Seattle this year. Again, it's hard to really gauge because Seattle hasn't been that good this year, but I think that overall, that would be a pretty cool story to see Campbell go from the assistant coach in Seattle to a head coach role as a NHL. It'd be pretty surreal, to be honest with you. So, yeah, overall, definitely a season of messy from Chicago, as LeBlanc said. Let's move on from Chicago here, unless you have anything else to bring up.